All right, as you can see, we're finally going to get something back in the air. Today we're going to fly the eSky Eagle, which has been quite a while since we had it out. So I thought it'd be fun to take it out for a nice little cruise. As you can see, the weather is really nice today, clear skies, sunny. We have about an hour of sunlight left. It's going to set over in that direction. There's the new runway. That's how it's coming along. You see everything's nice and smoothed out. Grass is starting to come back in. Still has a bit of time to go before it's, full thick and green, but for the time being, it's nice. I think we're gonna try to take off and land on it today, because we do have the large wheels on the little Eagle. Those are the stock wheels that come on it. They're kind of big. I think they'll work out good for that. As you can see over here, we have my video receivers. This is a biquad antenna that I made with some 3D printed parts and a little copper PCB board. This is a Hyperlink 8 dBi patch antenna, which is tuned for 1.2 gigahertz. And my video receivers are the older Racewood style. One is branded Ready Made RC, it came from there. The other one, which you can't really see, kind of stacked behind it. I have them kind of stacked in this little configuration here. But they are, this one back here is from DPC AV, so it's not branded, but they're basically the same receiver. One has a Ready Made RC logo, the other one doesn't. It's only the real difference. And I do have those, just this little 3D printed box back here is just a breakout board to switch this over to Ethernet, which I run back into my shop. You can see right over there to get video and audio back inside. Now we are flying with the Matek video transmitter. You can see right there. So unfortunately, when it's paired with the Racewood receivers, the audio subcarrier is on a different frequency, so we won't have audio today, just video. But we'll probably do some narration or something like that and kind of keep it interesting. So as far as the plan for the flight today, the only thing different we're going to do, we're just going to kind of cruise around out here like we usually do. But about a half a mile in that direction, there's a nice, really smoothed out dirt field that they didn't plant for some reason. I haven't talked to the farmer. I don't know if they're going to plant it. But for now, it's smoother than my new runway here. I mean, it looks like a big parking lot out there pretty much. So we're going to go fly over and check that out. And I'm not sure if my audio and video is going to hold steady to do some touch and goes landings out there. But if it works out, we're going to do that. We're going to see if we can manage that. But if not, we'll just kind of cruise around and we'll at least go check that out. And then we'll just kind of get some stick time pretty much, because it's been far too long since I've been flying. So with that said, the only other thing I haven't mentioned is we're going to be flying with the Radiomaster TX16S as usual. And as you can see, it has a stock FrSky R9M module in the back. There's a little R9MM receiver down there in the vertical stabilizer. But yeah, with all that being said, let's go ahead and go into the shop, get the recording computer and everything set up, and get on with it. We'll try to get this done before the sunset. So thank you for watching the video, and stay tuned. We're gonna do some flying now. All right, so everything's powered up and ready to go. Have the airplane sitting out on the runway. And I do notice there's still a problem that I remember from previously. Sometimes when I pan the camera over, I kind of get little glitches in the video. I believe that might just be a loose cable or connector or something like that, but I've been, well, not lately, but I remember before chasing that problem and not being able to find it. So we'll probably end up rewiring all that at some point, but for now it's good enough. We're going to fly it. Plan of action is to take off and just go out and test return to home and make sure that's all ready to go. And then we'll just kind of go on about our planned flight. So with that said, let's go ahead and arm. And motors are ready to go. We're going to go ahead and take off in angle mode. And once again, we are sitting out on the dirt runway, and you can see the grass is kind of coming back in. It's a little bit rough because of that, and some of the dirt got washed around after the last rain. But I do believe everything's going to work out fine, so let's get on with it. Go ahead and power up. Battery critical. And we're off. Everything is working as planned. So I want to set up for a cruise at approximately 5.5-ish amps or so, which is where I like to fly this little airplane, and everything feels really good. Everything looks good, feels good, it's working good. So I guess we're just gonna kind of cruise out here a little bit, and go ahead and gain a little bit of altitude and throttle up and pull the nose up. I want to go ahead and climb to, I don't know, around 200, 250 feet or so. Probably 200 is going to be fine. And I just want to do that before I test my return to home. So let's go ahead and level off at about 200 there. We'll set our cruise back to about 5.5 amps thereabout. Kind of wondering what that light spot in the field is down there. I guess it's just water standing after the recent rains. So yeah, let's go ahead and switch to return to home, which is flight mode 5. I can do that now.
Return to launch. Return to launch.
And you see it is slowly gaining altitude. I do not remember what my return to home altitude is set at, but I guess we'll find out here. And we're kind of flying in between the two cones off the antennas right now. I have one facing out to the direction that I want it to fly out over that field right out there, which is the back end of that field that I'm looking at right now, right in the center of the screen there. I have one antenna aimed out there, and then I have another one aimed out in this direction so that we can try some approaches on the new runway from out there. So yeah, apparently my return to home was set for 300 feet altitude, which is fine. It's doing an excellent job of holding that. And by the way, this is an older version of iNav. I don't remember what version it is. It's whatever the last one I put on it and tuned up. I'll probably go ahead and overlay that over the screen now just for anyone curious. At some point I may go ahead and update this one here soon, but I'm not sure if it will. I mean, it works so good, I just kind of want to leave it alone, to be honest with you. So I guess at this point we're just gonna kind of head out this way. Go ahead and throttle back and lose some altitude. We'll push the nose down because we're flying in angle mode, just to kind of help keep our airspeed up. We'll lose a little of altitude and set up an approach on the new runway out there. So let's come up from about 100 feet or so altitude. So let me go ahead and get my power back on so that we don't lose airspeed and get into trouble out here. So yeah, the new runway is going to be a different approach than I'm used to, than normal rather. So I guess I could go ahead and do a touch and go out here. But yeah, I do like that open approach where I don't have to go over the neighbor's house and everything. So we'll just keep a little bit of power on. Try to float it in nice and smooth. Then we'll power up and keep going.
Battery critical.
And that battery critical thing is just because the battery sags when I go to full power. Say I'm using a 4S lithium ion battery in this one. So it just kind of dips under power like that under load, which is nothing to be real concerned about. So yeah, that field that I want it to maybe try to land in is going to be coming up here, just to the left of that roadway that's in the center of the screen right now. And you can kind of see a turn row we're kind of lining up right now, and you can see where the rows in the field stop. So we're directly over that field right now. It actually looks like it may be planted now. Kind of get down lower and see if I can tell. Yeah, I do see some drainage ditches cut across it that were not there before, as well as some tracks from the tractor. So yeah, they've actually gone back and planted this. So that kind of changes my plans a little bit. I was actually going to do some touch and goes out here, which I mean, I guess we probably still could. But it may not be as smooth as I thought it was. Especially with these drainage ditches, they cut crossways in here. So yeah, maybe we shouldn't land out here. Although I should be able to get back on this little turn row and take a look at that. And yeah, unfortunately, those drainage ditches run right into the other field. I mean, I guess if we timed our approach and everything right, we could probably land between two of the ditches. But again, being that they've been out here with the tractor and planted this stuff, I'm not sure how smooth it is. So maybe we won't do a landing out here. I was kind of looking forward to that, kind of curious how well the video and audio, or not audio, the video and control signals were going to hold out landing out there like that. Now this little roadway here is probably actually smooth enough to do a landing on, or at least a touch and go. I would have to get into one of the tracks though, because there is grass growing in the center between the two tracks. So let me kind of make a loop out here. I'm probably not going to do that either. We can do some low approaches anyway. Some low passes anyway. Yeah, you can see there's ruts and things in the road out here, and it's not really as smooth as I would like it to be. So I'm probably not going to land out here. And we are kind of starting to drop out video. As you can see, it's switching back and forth, looking for a stable signal. Surprisingly, the R9 is holding out good flying down here like this, though. That's kind of something I was worried about more than the video, to be honest. But yeah, we'll go ahead and gain a little bit of altitude and just play it safe, and we're not going to land out here on any of this stuff. Just going to cruise around out here and enjoy the little airplane for what it is. So speaking of cruising, I think I'm going to switch to cruise mode so that I have heading and altitude controls on the radio, or on the flight controller rather. And I'll probably go ahead and gain a little bit of altitude. I'm going to get up to around, I don't know, 50, 60 feet or so. I stop at about 65 feet. We'll stop climbing. And we'll just kind of cruise around and take in some of the scenery and just enjoy putting in some more stick time. Because like I said, it's been far too long since I've been able to fly anything. And honestly, it's just been life in the way. Other stuff that's more important that needed to be dealt with was just kind of taking up all the free time I had. And there was a lot of good days of good weather there that I really wish I could have got out and flew something, but I had other plans. But today I figured it had been long enough. There's other stuff I could be doing right now, but none of it was super critical. It's a nice Sunday evening and weather was near perfect and time was right. I figured it was just time to get out and fly something. So put everything aside and here we are. I was really looking forward to flying that airplane. I mean, to do flying out to that field and doing some landings though. You can see the water standing out in the field right there. I've actually been out here on the four-wheeler recently and noticed one of the culverts that drain the water out of the woods under the road there is kind of stopped up. I'm guessing the hunting club that hunts those woods there is probably going to handle that here pretty soon. I'm going to go ahead and gain some more altitude here just so we can fly out over these trees without worrying about hitting anything. Kind of climb to about 100 or so feet. I still need to figure out what the issue is with that kind of glitchy video when I pan over all the way to the right. Sometimes I've noticed that. I've never been able to sort it out. See, like right now is where I miss having a tilt turbo because we only have pan on this little airplane. We don't have a tilt. I would like to be able to look down into that little cut, that little shooting lane. See if there's any deer out there. I actually did see some deer not long before I took off today. They were standing out in the field right out here ahead of where we're kind of center of the screen right now where I'm looking. I could see them from the house, and I got the binoculars out and looked, and there was 3 of them standing out here. But they've since made their way over into the weed patch out here. That's what I call it, the kind of short woods now. It's in the process of being overgrown, or growing back into a wooded area anyway. But the deer like it. It's rather thick, relatively thick anyway, and they'll kind of hang out here. Go ahead and throttle up a bit during these turns. Not having a microphone with working audio makes it a little bit more difficult to manage my power setting, my throttle, because I do use the audio feedback from the motor, and it's just kind of my reminder to keep an eye on that stuff. And without that feedback, I tend to lose track of my throttle stick, because I'm flying around with pitch and roll and yaw. I'm using yaw a fair bit during these turns. This little airplane does like some yaw input during the turns to coordinate the turns, especially flying in cruise mode like this. It tends to fly better using the rudder as well as the ailerons during the turn. And as I use the rudder stick, I pan left and right, or not pan left and right, but I yaw left and right with the rudder stick. I tend to move my throttle without realizing it. So I do have to keep in the back of my mind to keep an eye on that. But yeah, I sure do enjoy flying this little airplane, especially since it's been so long since I've flown anything. It's nice to get out and fly again, especially a nice flying little airplane like this. It is getting a little bumpy out here, like it's a little bit windy, but it's pretty much dead calm down where I'm at on the ground when I took off. But it's been like that all afternoon. There's been almost dead calm, and there's been the occasional little gusts comes and goes as the thermals pass through. But late in the day like this, the sun is getting close to the horizon, as you can see right out there. It hasn't set yet, but I think most of that daytime heating is over with for the day. Everything should be calming down, smoothing out quite a bit. But I guess we are still getting a little bit of thermal activity coming and going. But nothing crazy. It would have been nice to be able to do those touch and goes out there like I wanted to. I guess if we really wanted to, we could try down here on the road. But as rough as this road is, it's heavily traveled and maintained and everything, but it's a public roadway. But to be honest, it's probably not much smoother than landing in the field out there. But we are a mile from home right now too, so I don't want to land the airplane all the way on the ground. And landing out in this field where we were planning on landing out here, even if we lost the signal and everything, it would be kind of on a heading to fly back home. So return to home would probably just pull the airplane back up and not immediately gain control again. So that would probably work a little bit better. But nonetheless, here we are. But like I said, I'm not complaining at all. I'm just happy to be out flying. Now, to be honest, I could probably do a nice little touch and go out here in line with the roads in the field. Just have to watch for those drainage ditches. Like there's one coming up now, and there's another one. There's a nice long stretch. There's another ditch. See, yeah, this may not work out as well as I'd hoped. See, we're probably not going to do that. I mean, we are right down on the ground right now. I think the video and audio or video and control would be fine. But nonetheless, I think we're just going to play it safe and not do it. Now this field out here that we're coming up on, this green field, it's way too rough to land out here. I've been out here with the dirt bikes and the 4-wheeler recently, and there's no way I'd want to land out here. It's rough, very rough. And I do expect them to get out here and probably work this field and plant it here pretty soon. They were just spraying it with the crop duster 2 or 3 days ago, earlier this week at least. They were out here spraying this to kill all this winter grass and stuff like that. So I expect them to be out here pretty soon, getting that stuff ready, getting it ready to plant. So I guess for now we're just gonna go play on the new runway, just maybe shoot some approaches and kind of feel that out, because I've actually not flown anything since getting that done, obviously. So all the normal approach that I kind of have memorized in the back of my mind is all going to be different now. Where I can't really line up on my runway just by feel and visual cues from the other landmarks. Although the old runway is still there and accessible and smooth and everything, it's just the new one is the only thing really changed. So that's the new runway, and as you can see, we have a nice clear approach, in and out, long straight shot. And for anyone wondering, the main, or really the only purpose for making that new runway is so that when I fly the ultralight coming up here pretty soon, then it's going to be a lot more, it's going to work out a lot better for that. It'll give me a long approach from this direction as well as the other direction, and it's a nice, clear, smoother runway than one I had previously. But it's probably fine to fly the ultralight on it right now, but I kind of want to let it get packed a little bit better because it is kind of still soft out there. We basically tilled it about 8 inches deep because the land was all rough. Most of what's turned into the new runway was part of the old horse pen, and that land was relatively rough out there. So we ended up tilling it about 8 inches deep and then grading it, and smoothing it and grading it after we packed it with the tractor, and just kind of waiting for the grass to come back in right now. But that's kind of pretty much what we're waiting on for to test fly the ultralight anyway. And obviously we're going to want perfect weather and everything. I'd much rather wait a month or two to get everything perfect than take a risk and fly it on a windy day or something and not only hurt the airplane, but my actual self will be in it. So obviously I'm not going to take any chances like that. But I'm waiting on a propeller too. I actually had to get a new propeller made. The original one was delaminating, and I started looking at it, and it was not worth trying to run it up on the motor and send splinters of a wooden prop flying. So I ended up having to get it done by a shop in Canada, a little prop shop, GSC, I think is their name. But I found a couple places in the US. One of them was booked up for several months, and another one wanted like $745 to duplicate my original prop. But the shop in Canada said they could do one for $230 and have it done in about a week turnaround. So obviously I jumped on that, and it should actually be here in the middle of next week. I think Wednesday is the estimated date for delivery. But as far as the weather forecast goes, there's going to be like 15 and 20 mile an hour winds just about every day in the 10-day forecast after that, or from now, 10 days from now. So I'm not really planning on getting anything done with that in the immediate future for sure. But obviously once we are able to fly it, you guys will probably be the first to know. I'm obviously going to have some good video of that. But yeah, so this is the new runway, and if we turn and we actually fly down this way, this is the old runway that I had before. And like I said, you can see this is all still very accessible and serviceable out this way. It just kind of runs you into a little dead end right here with the neighbor's house and everything, which is why I want it to have a better setup for when I fly the big airplane. I'm still not sure if I want to cut that one pine tree out. behind the new runway though. Obviously the runway is far more than wide enough if everything goes good, but just say you ended up over on the right side of the runway, you might end up with a wingtip in that pine tree, which obviously wouldn't be good. But for now, I think it'll be fine. But if it proves to be an issue, that still is an option, taking that one out. So I guess we'll just go head back here and fly another approach down that field. Like we wanted to do some landings, but I think I'm going to use my better judgment and not do that. But yeah, we'll fly down, I guess we'll fly down the turn row between the two. Which I'm looking for it, I think, yeah, that's it right here. Get lined up on it right here. You can see there's a little culvert over the drainage ditch right here. Is the only way I know where the field changes. Basically, it's the same field. There's the rows. See, these rows we're flying in line with them right now, and these rows we're flying across those right now. It's the only difference. But so yeah, if we head down this field right here, that'll put us in a path to go out and fly over the cow pasture, which we've already done on this flight, in fact. But we're gonna go ahead and make another loop out over that way, and maybe just kind of do some more cruising out here and head back and call it a day, because we've been in the air now for 22 minutes, almost 23 minutes. There's a flock of birds that we've scared up there. They just kind of stayed low. And we are flying with a 3500 milliamp hour battery, which if I was doing a long flight out and back, it would be time to turn around and head home right now and have a little bit of reserve, which is why my battery indicator is flashing. But we should be plenty good enough for as close as we are to home right now, less than a mile out. There's the cows. We're going to head out this way, and we're going to make a loop out here. Make a pass over those cows. And then head back home and land on the new runway and call it a flight. So there's all the cows. Looks like they're kind of starting to group up like they usually do at night, as the sun is getting ready to set. So I guess we're just going to kind of follow closer.
RSSI low.
And we got a low RSSI warning there. Kind of reconfigure my antenna here just to kind of bring the RSSI up a little bit. We are kind of flying off the end of the shop here, where we do have another metal shed in the way that's kind of blocks the signal and stuff like that. So there's the neighbor's house out that way, one of the neighbors. So we're just going to kind of follow this tree line that's off to our right here. That's the bayou and the road. We're just going to kind of stay out here and
Battery critical.
Follow it. There's another low battery warning. And again, it's normal to have that voltage sag
Battery
for
critical.
the lithium ion battery, so it's not really concerning as of yet. The voltage hasn't really started dropping off yet. But we're going to go ahead and switch to angle mode,
Battery critical.
where I can lower the power a little bit. Set up a new approach on the new runway. We're a little bit off to the right, which is fine. Gonna kind of get set up on the center line, cut power, keep my airspeed up. Gonna put a little bit of power back on, smooth out the flare a little bit. A little rougher than I want it, bounced it a little bit, but we are on the ground. See if we can taxi back toward the shop. And I will take this time to thank you all for watching the video, and obviously to thank all of my Patreon and YouTube channel member supporters, especially in the past few months where I've really come up short and I failed to deliver the content that I would want to. And I've mentioned that a couple of times in the Discord server and stuff like that. And people keep reassuring me that it's fine. They understand, but it just doesn't feel right.
Manual.
Receiving support when I'm not really giving
Battery
anything
critical.
in return for it. But I do intend to do better here in the near future. And yeah, I really appreciate all the support. And of course, to everyone that likes this video and any questions, comments, go below the video and I will try to answer them as I am able to do so. And yeah, like, comment, subscribe, share this video, share the channel, all that good stuff. And then keep an eye out for what's to come. Hopefully I'll be able to fly more often on a more regular basis here in the near future. So keep an eye out for that. And until then, I guess see you around. Thank you for watching.